under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will see about getting some flags somewhere. All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
All right, any additions? Not hearing any. All those in favor of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Any additions, corrections? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. Planning Commission reports. We got a vacancy on planning. So anybody that's interested, please come down and fill an application. We do have some requirements on there, but they're very minimal. We have Susan Harman has been nominated by the CAPC. So I guess we need a motion to approve her.
Yes, yes, that takes care of it right there. Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
At this time also, the council asked for some commission reports, and Susan is here to give a report for the CAPC for bring us up to date.
Okay, so I've got some information for you.
How can you use that?
And I've got 5 to 10 minutes, so.
Need one. Thank you.
All right, so really the intent of this is just kind of an overview, where we're at, where we're going. Some of the things that you may or may not know about the CAPC. I gave you a lot of information. There's a lot of reading here, but I'm going to kind of skim over the major points here. 2017 to date highlights. Hopefully most of you are aware of the Made in Eureka marketing program that's out there. Lots of different things that are happening to highlight what happens here in Eureka Springs. So between art, clothing, history, events, and things like that, that's all incorporated into the Made in Eureka. And we did do a website redesign, so you can take a look at that if you haven't in a while. We've got more pictures, and it's a little bit easier to navigate than what the old one was. We started in January the Game Ball social media marketing plan, which means we're no longer just going out 4 to 6 hours from Eureka Springs. We now have what we call the Game Ball, which is up to about 10 hours away. So it allowed us to prospect many more millions of people to Eureka Springs. So that has been quite successful. You can read about where we're targeting. The app sponsorship, I know there's been some talk. David has mentioned it a couple times about the app that we just sponsored. That is out. I know they were making a few tweaks to it, but it is available on the Apple Store right now. So if you've got an iPhone or an iPad, you can download that. Tons of information that is on there right now. Festivals, you've seen some of them. There's some information about Andy, who is our events coordinator, and what he's doing for events here. One of the big things that just happened was our Airbnb agreement. So we just signed that, and that will allow us to track who is listed on Airbnb, and we will then be able to collect those taxes from those particular lodging establishments. We did the state hospitality classes here in the auditorium. If you were not able to attend, we had 63 attendees, so that was a good turnout. We'll continue to do that yearly. Collections, I know people have asked about collections, where we're at, how is the budget. You see the numbers here. Year to date, we're down about 0.06, so not quite a % down from last year's collections. So we're really basically at this point flat to 2016, so which is not where we hope to be, but it's not a bad thing. So we haven't lost any money there. Cash balances, about $463,000 in our cash balance, and we also, just for those people out there, if you know of anybody that's got a good idea, wants to start a new festival, something like that here in Eureka Springs, we do still have funding balances available for those. So they can come fill up their form and apply for that. As far as one of the other things I wanted to talk about was the auditorium, year-to-date versus expenses versus income. As you know, the auditorium costs a lot of money to keep up and run, just in air conditioning, in repairs, and things like that. We are falling short on actually breaking even on the auditorium right now. So we've got to figure out a way to make some money. I know there are some things in the works right now. You can read about that there. But really for this year, we're at about $6,600 in income. We're at about $95,000 in expenses. So it is way off, and we've got to be able to fix that. Some information about our event coordinator and what he's doing. One of the things that I wanted to bring, and I was hoping I had some extra copies, but y'all can take a look at this, was publicity. So this was kind of interesting to me as far as what Mike had put together at our last meeting. I know David and Terry, you have this, but it is kind of interesting. If you want to pass that and take a look at it, how and when we're being mentioned throughout different venues, be it radio, TV, newspaper, or whatever. There's some interesting things there, and probably some websites and or sites that you've never heard of before that mention Eureka Springs. So more information there. As far as 2008, where are we going and what are we doing? If you hadn't seen our meeting this past, I guess it was last week, we are in the process of purchasing the app or these kiosks that will be able to feature the new app. So you can take a look at that. You haven't seen it already, but those will be located throughout town at different venues. I've listed those places there. Obviously the trolley stations, the chamber. We're looking at Turpentine Creek and possibly the Passion Play, places where there are a lot of people that will be able to access that. So it will be touch. They'll be able to zoom in for restaurants, history, parking, whatever we've got on the app, they'll be able to access that. One of the other promotions that we're doing is I have Eureka After 5, but I think we're going to be calling it Live After 5, and that is a way to promote those businesses downtown that have hours after 5 o'clock. It's kind of one of the biggies for the tourists. So restaurants, bars, businesses that have hours after 5 o'clock. Mike is in the process right now, or has received, I think, the database of businesses so that he can contact and get that information from them. So that'll be something that we're going to do new on our website and promote that for those particular businesses. Some information about the top 10 best traffic sources by region. You can look at that, see the different states where we get most of our traffic from. As far as the 2018 budget, and I am almost done, our main goal is to focus on a way to measure why we increase or decrease the overall budget. So this year we increased it. We didn't meet it, but we need to have some tangible or some real ways to measure why we raise it or why we decrease it based on either historical and or other things. So that information is there. Mike has included some information about the state's 2018 budget and how that breakdown is shown and is similar to what the CAPC does as far as where we advertise, television, digital, magazine, and things like that. So that's where we're at. But that gives you some reading information, so I can keep it short. I know Mike's not here, so he kind of lives and breathes the CAPC, so anybody have any questions?
No, I like what you're doing. It's great.
Terry.
I just wanted to mention that we're starting with 4 kiosks.
Yes.
That's what we approved. That may be in there, but
I think he did mention that in here where he has purchased the 4.
Yeah.
And like I said, the trolley stations, so there's 3 of those, right?
And then when that gives us a floater, and then we can move the others if we
so they'll probably
see that we need to as well.
More purchased over the year. I know one of the things he mentioned in here was the Branson Airport, so it'll be a good opportunity for us. People like to walk up to something and touch and click and read. That's just how some people do it rather than talking to an individual. There's so much information that they can glean from that even after hours as they're coming into the airport there that there may not be a person staffed So this will give us an opportunity to really highlight Eureka Springs.
And also, the Android comes out the 1st of
It should be
April.
January, February, yeah.
So the kiosk is to supplement those people that can download it on their phone.
Yep. Any other questions?
The bookings that Andy's doing, are they, you getting it ready for next year, or do you have the money for booking?
We are going to be going over that. He's already submitted to us what his wish list is as far as cash goes, so that he can go ahead and put together some of those things. I don't know if any of you realized that some of the festivals had changed. I know we'd written this in here as far as how we were presenting them. But last week, was it last weekend? The weekend before, Jazz Eureka, we had a lot of music in Basin Park. So rather than focus on maybe the ways that we used to do those festivals, we've now kind of transitioned into having more things in Basin Park for longer periods of time. So I think that was successful. I know some of the guests that we had loved that music being down there the majority of the day, and they went back several times. So hopefully that equated to some money being spent in those restaurants and shops as well downtown. So.
True, and then Andy had also kind of was lining up some acts, and we thought we were going to have something, but then we found out that in their contract they were within a geographic area that they could not perform here.
Yeah,
so we got some surprises as far as big acts.
That's the biggest thing, is the time window. You know, a lot of those acts are booked a year to 2 years in advance. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to get traction, but at the same time, you know, he's working it. So he's got 2018 to really shine. So
that's great.
Yes.
Is any of this in the auditorium?
Yes, there are things that he has planned in the auditorium. So it's just a matter of whether or not he can get those acts booked as to how many we will actually have. So the auditorium is at the top of our list.
Susan, you might mention Lucinda Williams.
And I did not go.
No, she hadn't performed yet, so you can't
I
go.
didn't have tickets. That's right. So there are still tickets available.
Yeah,
for
Lucinda
that.
Williams is, that's Folk Festival, that's November 3rd.
Oh, that's right. That's coming up.
And that is the auditorium performance, that's our
yes.
what's coming up,
I was thinking the
our
other
nearest
one,
event.
Jazz.
Yeah, that was a great little show, it was really good.
So we do have some events coming up. You'll just have to look at the calendar. And like I said, it's all about timing. It's all about whether or not we can get them. You know, the hope is that we can constantly fill. But, again, it depends on those artists that he's looking at. So we have to kind of work with their schedules. So anyway. Yes, Mickey.
On the first page where it's talking about the new app thingy,
Yes.
If we want to find it now, do we look under modern tourism applications?
You would look under Eureka Springs. So you should be able to go to the Apple Store and see that within on Eureka Springs.
Just put in Eureka Springs.
Yeah, and just see what posts there. It should be. Has anybody downloaded it?
Yeah.
I have.
Okay, Terry has.
I have.
You have, Christy? And
it's real quick.
okay, good. I don't have an iPhone, so.
Yeah, mine downloaded in
I've got to do it on my iPad. I can't do it on this thing.
Telling me
And then
Okay, good. So he's probably fixed that glitch then.
That's a whole list of everything that's
So
going
anyway,
on.
there's just so much information there. But like I said, the kiosk will be available, and they will be beneficial too for those people that just want to, you know, come into that particular location and view. Anybody else? Yes.
One other question. What kind of lead time do you have to have if you want to have the CAPC help with promoting a festival or an event?
Well, if you think about it, for the most part, some people come to us 2 weeks before. Some people come to us a month before. In reality, at least in my world as far as marketing goes, you should be doing it 6 months in advance. Because you're going to want to get those teasers out there for those people to remember it. You've got to set your dates and things like that. So, you know, people don't purchase something always on the first try, but if they see it several times, then you get that process going. So, to me, 3 to 4 months in advance is really ideal, but you've got to start that process, so at least 6 months. If you're waiting until 2 weeks before your event, it's already too late.
Yeah.
So, yep.
I just wanted it on camera.
Oh, there you go. Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We still have a vacancy at the Hospital Commission. And next we have our Police Chief, Thomas Acords, going to give us a little rundown on what's happening at the Police Department.
Can everybody hear me? Am I close enough to the mic? The Police Department has been faced with some unique problems this year that we've not had in the 18, 19 years that I've been in, a loss of some manpower. But overall, we're doing well. The impact that's had on us hasn't affected the safety of the community so much as it has the personal life of the folks that have stepped up to the plate. So I've got to commend everybody at the department, dispatchers and officers, for filling the void that has occurred. Overall, for the year to date, we're running a little behind what we were last year as far as the stats. We've taken over 1,300 calls for service. We've arrested 232 to date, which is probably down by 50 or so from what we had last year. The noise violations are down some. I think we've got about 50 or 55 noise violations that we've issued so far. The citations and warnings, and we're right at about 1,300, which is par for what we were last year. So everybody at the department's staying with the course for keeping the streets and the community safe and happy. We've lost 60% of our dispatch force. We've lost 3 out of 5. So we are having trouble staying open 24 hours a day. Although they offered, I'm not letting them work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And we're down 1 officer position right now. We've been advertising and interviewing, and I've kind of put the officer position on back burner because priority is trying to get the dispatchers back up to staff. It's amazing, and Kim brought this up last week at the department head meeting. You know, the dispatch position, although it doesn't seem, you take it for granted, it's probably the most single important position at that department. And they're the first line of contact that the public has, or the first line of contact that complainants or victims or anybody has with sometimes the town. Not just the department, but sometimes the whole town and the community. So their level of professionalism and the skill set that they have to have is so diverse and so expansive that, you know, we can't just knee-jerk and put people in the seat and say good luck. So we're being choosy, even though we're in a desperate situation. I'm not going to be I'm not just grabbing the first person off the street. We've had a few interviews. We've had some that were definitely not candidates. We've had a couple that were, and then they declined. We're trying to compete with a higher market, so to speak. You know, they make $12 an hour, but the level that we need them to be is probably 15 or 20 an hour in another service, another career. Maybe not here in EUREKA, but somewhere else. So, like Kim said, the cog, that the gears all turn around, that's one of the most important. So that's where we're at. That's probably our biggest issue right now as a department. But like I said, everybody stepped up, and I want to commend officially on record everybody at that department. The entire staff has just, I mean, have absolutely taken the brunt and stepped up. So. Yes, ma'am.
I have read that there are some problems with the county dispatch department, and particularly, I guess, their move. How does that affect our dispatch?
Logistically, you mean, like when we're full staffed, or like right now?
Well, right now, I guess.
Right now, there's no, because they're not moved. They're running and I don't want to speak for them because I'll be honest with you, I've never stepped foot in their dispatch center.
Well, I guess how does it affect your department and your dispatchers?
Now, when we have to close down for the night, we transfer all the calls to their dispatch. They're staffed, they're fully staffed, so, and they're trained and capable of doing warrant checks because they're 911 anyway. So when a 911 call comes in, now business calls go to them, and we've given them guidelines as far as if someone has to make a fine payment, call back at, in the morning and such. Our only problem right now is we can't communicate down here to them after we lock our doors because our radios, we can't hit they were supposed to upgrade to a new type of radio system we had looked at doing a couple years ago. We had it on the Capitol, and we didn't, and not that would have solved any problem or not. It's a frequency issue, and I'm relying on what our radio experts are telling me. Our portables and even our mobiles will not reach their center when we're downtown. When we're up on the highway, we're fine, but down here, it's a problem. So when the officers walk downtown and check doors every night, they're on a portable. There's nobody to listen to them on the radio. So what they'll usually do is get on their cell phone, call the dispatcher, and say, I'm out on my portable. They can hear, they can call, the dispatch can call the officer, but they can't reach back out. Now, once we go back to full staff, it's a moot point because Eureka Springs has always been a self-sustained department. We don't rely on their jail. Well, we have a holding facility, but we still have to take prisoners over there, but we can basically take care of our own. So, and we want to get back to that because it's the most efficient way to handle it for our community. And I'm not going to knock anything they're doing because, God bless them, they stepped up to the plate and have really helped with our shortcoming right now. But our dispatchers are familiar with our community. They know where Elk Street is. They know where all the little nuances of Eureka Springs are, and they don't have that at the central dispatch. No real fault of theirs. It's just our people live here, grew up here, know the area. Or we put our dispatchers in our cars and drive them around so they can physically see where all of our little places are. Yes, sir.
Going back to the dispatchers, and you have 3 down, did you say, out of 5? And 1 officer.
We're down 1 officer.
One officer. Have you recently done a wage and salary survey on the dispatchers for comparative?
Not an official. I have talked to other departments.
Okay, unofficial, but you have. And you still feel that the salaries that you can quote now are par with other departments? You're not?
We're below larger departments. We're on par with Carroll County.
But it's not helping you, on par with Carroll County, is not helping you attract...
A couple of our losses were because they took jobs. One went to Bentonville and is a dispatcher over there making like $8 an hour more.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that we should pay $8 an hour more,
no.
but...
Okay, because there's what I figure was the concern, because if you're not attracting a qualified candidate that can be trained, either there's just nobody wanting a job in this part of the country that can do that, or the salaries are off. So it seems like it would behoove maybe you to talk to the mayor or the finance person, and maybe them to come back with us to see about doing a wage and salary increase to help you attract the type of people that you should have.
I agree 100%. But we know that the city is in a financial, and it's not my place to critique or judge the entire city's financial situation.
No.
But I'm going to do my part as a department head and pinch every penny that I can to get the most mileage out of every person. But you're But
when you have to
accurate.
close the dispatch here at night, when your officers are downtown having to use their cell phone because they don't have the type of communication, which you just said,
yes, sir.
That puts an officer in a libelous position.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know what they're going to run into.
Right. Exactly. If they have to call for emergency backup and their phone's in their pocket.
And it behooves us as a council to say, you're in a tough situation.
Yes, sir.
And it's quite possible that a wage and salary adjustment needs to be made so you can attract the right kind of people. So I think the burden that you're facing right now falls back on this council to produce. Sorry.
No, thank you. No, please don't apologize. That's music to my ears, for lack of a better phrase to say that. Yes, sir.
Thomas, I also appreciate your staff and all that y'all do. It's cover a lot of territory. I've had several people in town mention to me that we're concerned with vagrants or homeless, as becoming more of a severe problem. Is that something that you see, or
I do see it.
what's your
I don't
take on
think
that?
it is a worse problem than we have seen in years past. The cycle that we typically see during our warmer months, the folks will transient into town. They can sleep in common areas, alleys, everywhere they can get to. Then usually when winter gets here, they tend to disappear. Last winter was a very mild winter. Year before was a mild winter. I don't know if that had any direct relation. We are seeing some minor crimes, misdemeanor crimes, some vagrancy, things like the yarn on the trees. I'm not saying that was done by a transient or a vagrant or a homeless person, but we had people that were camping in the woods, 500 yards from there, that we had run out a couple of times. All of the officers are very in tune with the faces that they see on a regular basis, and make a point to make contact with, if you see a guy with a backpack that looks like he's just walked in from the East Coast, like he's living out of his backpack, we just go introduce ourselves and let them know, you can't sleep in public places, you can't sleep in parking lots, and most of the time they're courteous and thank us and move on. But you are right, there is a problem, but I don't know that I would say it's any worse than it has been in years past.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Do we get to ask what you did?
Oh, I'm not going to say anything officially on record other than I still train pretty hard and I try to be 21 and I'm not.
There you go.
How does that sound? Is
Bada bing,
that
bada
good
bang.
enough? I don't want to say anything officially on record.
couldn't
I push myself pretty hard, and you know Mickey. Mickey, you've known me since I was, a kid. And I still try to be the best that I can be, and some days that falls. My mind writes checks that my body can no longer cash.
Well, both of the boys are the same way. They'll get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Thomas.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank you very much for coming. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public comments?
We actually used to follow these meetings.
Yeah.
Sitting too long.
Taller than Thomas.
My name's TJ Brooks, and I have been where you sit, in another state. And I simply want to thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, TJ.
You're now living in Eureka Springs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're glad to have you here. All right. Well, that concludes our public comment. Next order of business, get a motion to discuss Joe Gunnels and the group tour franchise.
So
moved.
Get a second?
Second.
All right. Joe has had the group tour franchise, I don't know how many years, quite a few years. And this is his annual renewal. It's a 2-year renewal. Joe isn't here.
Yeah.
He's traveling.
He's working. So normally he would be here, but
He had a representative, but she ran out the door.
she's taking a phone call, but most of us probably know him.
I did actually this year have a question for him.
well,
Not that big of a deal.
Mr. Mayor?
yes, sir.
I don't really want to take any action on this. I'm surprised that our Director of Transit's not here, because he made reference when he reported to us last time that he wanted to do this on his own. Is that something that we can consider, or is that...
Well, I think at this point we can still, what this is for the group franchise, and I think this is...
I think that's what he was talking about.
Well, when I talked to Smitty, he's talking about individual tours that he can still...
Not the groups.
He can still do the groups on his own also. This does not prevent him from doing this.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I've got...
I have a copy of his letter, and he stated that he felt that Joe Gunnels Tours is promoting the individual tours almost exclusively. I do not know of any group promotions he has done on his own, depending on the CAPC for his group contacts. He also has a tour venture in Branson. If that is the intent of the ordinance, I can promote the individual tours cheaper than paying Joe Gunnels Tours 35% and hire my own guides, then partnership with the CAPC to provide group tour service. So what I gather from this is that it doesn't appear that he's promoting the group tours, and he doesn't really have anything in his application that indicates that he is promoting group tours, and the ordinance specifically requires that he has statements about his activities over the last 3 years to develop the group tour business, that he is in the business of arranging and selling to groups, and that it is warranted by the current economic situation of the tour industry in Eureka Springs. I find his application wanting.
Yeah, this is, can we postpone this and have maybe a workshop with him and Smitty and us and hammer out what's going on? Because we need expansion rather than dual stuff, you know what I mean? So would that be possible or feasible? Is it legal?
We can do that. We can do anything council wants. Just a moment. David, you had a first?
Would that work for you, Terry?
Just a moment.
I
David?
was going to play off and just go ahead and make a motion that we postpone this until we get further information.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like to make this a workshop.
Well,
I will second David's motion, so now we can discuss before we vote on that, is that correct?
Okay, so would that work for you then?
now, wait a minute. All right, Terry, did you want to?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, and I really don't want to do any kind of a workshop. I think we need to have Smitty here, and we need to have Joe Gunnels here, and either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. It's that simple. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Yes,
I don't think
Kendrick.
this is appropriate for a workshop. This is an application to City Council, and it should be done in a City Council meeting.
Okay. Nikki?
Application, yes, for City Council, but we have two different parties. We can actually give them both the same thing because we can have two of them. Point of having a workshop was so the two of them could sit down, discuss it together. If you want to do it with the mayor and the two of them, fine. But why cover the same base twice and leave another one totally empty? That was the whole point of having a workshop discussion, however you want to work it. Now, it would not be appropriate to have both of them come to the meeting and put before us. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem is we have two people wanting to do the same thing and totally ignoring one other opportunity that we have to promote tourism. That was the point of getting them together.
David?
I think the mayor can very easily suggest the two of them get together, have their own workshop, and come to us with what they consider to be the solution. And that works a whole lot better for me.
That would be fun, as long as we can get them together to talk.
All right, any further discussion? There's a motion and second to defer this until the next meeting. I don't know whether that was...
Yes, if that's okay.
Okay. There's no further discussion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right. This will be deferred to the next meeting, and I will get with Smitty and Joe and get them to iron out any of their comments and questions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that brings us to our next comments, which is a motion to discuss the second financials.
So,
You got a second?
Second.
It's kind of, we had a good budget meeting. I think the one of the couple of key items that was pointed out was this is the first time we're now at $21,000 in the red on the general fund, which is the first time we have been in this lowest amount in the general fund for
Black.
this year.
We're in the black?
I mean, in the red. That's $21,000 in the capital general fund.
Oh, I thought we were.
General fund.
Oh, yeah, okay, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The $21,000 is the shortest that we've been. Now, overall, we are in the black by $246,000. So we've got some other funds that have been made up for that. We got the streets, and then some of our other areas we've increased in through there. So I think overall we're still seeing some in our sewer. We're still running approximately 8% more than our projection, and that's a large contributor to the shortfall, $55,000 in our sewer fund. But overall, I think we're doing good. We're showing, like I said, an increase of the $246,000, which is a lot better than where we have been in the black. So, any questions or comments? All right. Next item is get a motion to discuss meeting sites.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We are still investigating, and I guess I think most of the council knows and the other people, trying to work something out with the community center in the old school. We've been approached to see if we can work something out with them, and I've talked with the superintendent of schools, and we're still right now waiting to get some feedback on some information that I've asked from the school. And once I get that, and I'm hoping I will have that by the next council meeting when we're hopefully making a date to make a decision on what to do on that. But other than that, that's the only things that I know. David?
So the community center came back after we did site visits for two places, North Street and the fire station.
Correct.
Nothing at this point has really changed, and then council voted last time to put it to hopefully make a final decision by the first meeting in October. That is still the time frame?
That's still the time frame. That's what the council asked for, and that's what the council voted on.
I just wanted to be sure that that the community center knew if they wanted to be considered, they better get moving.
Well, the community center approached me at approximately that same time. They weren't aware of what we were doing. And I think I'd mentioned this, they had offered us the use of that facility at no cost. Mm-hmm. There would be some cost of site work, of ramps and parking, and we still had some issues there that we could still take care of. But there was also some other issues going on with the ownership of that property that I am now investigating with superintendent of schools and the community center.
Okay. And that issue of ownership came up in discussion at the last council meeting in regards to the trail around there.
Correct.
The activity trail, I guess, or yeah.
Right.
Cardiac coach. Okay, so technically they had kind of almost started on that, so you're just progressing it more.
Well, and I had a meeting with the superintendent in regarding the trails. They didn't have a problem with providing a lease around the perimeter, around the sides of the school to the parks. Mm-hmm. Their problem was around the frontage. That's where the issue came up, mm-hmm. not around the sides or the back. We're looking at how the ownership of the property works. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're investigating at this point in time.
Okay. We'll just wait until then.
Yeah. Yes.
If more information comes up, would it be something that you would contact us before our next meeting so that we'd have more time to make some comparison? Or do you feel like it'll because this ownership thing is sort of throwing me off about what you mean by ownership.
Well,
You know,
as soon as I know more, I will let the council know.
will you? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't answer your question because I don't know. I mean, we've got some questions out there, and right now we don't know how the ownership with the foundation works with the school and the city properties and everything. Yes,
It
ma'am.
sounds complicated.
Mr. Mayor,
It's not easy.
Mr. Mayor, I can help you with the ownership question. We don't need to discuss it right now, but
Right.
I can.
Okay. Anyway, that's where we are right now. Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Well, that concludes our... Yes, ma'am? All right.
It has been
Sorry.
lightly touched upon, but I'm wondering if it's at all possible, especially in view of the financial situation on tourism, if it's at all possible that we look at buying our own facility, that we could actually move all of our stuff from the courthouse into one spot?
We have talked about that with Lonnie and I. I don't think the problem we run into is the location, finding an appropriate location.
I'm thinking one of the small hotels, motels, whatever. We have quite a few that are empty because of the tourism situation in the last 10 years.
Well, I'd have to look into that, but I guess that's possible. Anything's possible if you got enough money.
Well, the thing that I found intriguing was one of our local people suggested that we take the CAPC rent line from their budget, make it a mortgage line, and buy our own facility that we would move all of our people and stuff into, and this would be that's what would pay for it. I thought that was an incredibly awesome idea. That way we wouldn't be paying rent, we wouldn't be out any more money than what we're paying. We'd have our own ownership of a facility for all departments and all people.
Well, we've looked into the possibility of us building a place. I can say
Well,
that.
so I'm thinking of the little motels that...
I don't think that's really the most practical thing for one of the motels from a use situation.
No? All those separate rooms would be separate offices?
No.
Okay.
As an architect, I'm putting on my architect hat. That's not,
Well, that's what I'm
use.
asking,
No,
okay.
I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, it can be done, but you can do anything for money. I just think you're better off if that was to happen to buy a piece of vacant land and to build a building.
Really?
Yes.
Not be able to utilize one of our non-used things
I
now?
don't think so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, I just want to
Okay.
make a comment.
Yes, ma'am?
In all of this movement towards a place for handicap accessible, new location for the meetings, etc., I feel that the city has an opportunity to show support for the people of Eureka Springs by doing some kind of a move that is really an upgrade, and really thinking in terms of an artistic upgrade, just because that's where I'm coming from, but something that would really show what everyone can do in this town and what we can actually do as a group. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, brings us to agenda setting. Anybody got, yes, sir.
I'd like to add a salary and wage discussion for the police department.
Okay,
I'll
Get a second?
that.
all right. I see somebody else's hand up on agenda.
No, that was the same one.
Anybody else? All right. Council comments. David, we'll start down with you.
No, I think I'm going to pass.
All right, thank you.
I know what you really were saying, thank God he didn't say anything.
I have no comment.
I always have something to say. One, my little bouquet goes to Kim, who is Especially the baby. There you go. And I wanted to mention two things. One, if you haven't been watching the Vietnam series on PBS by Ken Burns, it is relentlessly awesome. It's an excellent documentary. And then the other thing is I wanted to wish Dude a medical recovery. Dude is Tom's dog who helps him in the gardens with the city of Eureka Springs. And Dude is a great big dog who hurt his kneecap, and he's been on medical leave. Get well soon, Dude.
Mickey?
Come back to me.
Now you're next.
No, come back to me.
Bob?
No comments.
Terry?
Just that Bikes, Brews, and Barbecue is behind us. Corvette weekend is fast approaching, and this really nice flyer for them was in our box. And you know, it is quite an event, and it has been for many years. So I'm looking forward to it. It's October's a great time of year.
Mickey?
I'm going to speak my piece because that's what people appreciate. And I know there's two people here that aren't going to like it too bad. For 20 years, this council, meaning the Eureka Council, has been ignoring, putting off, sashaying around the ADA compliancy thing. This is the first one who has actually taken action to do. And y'all couldn't wait 3 lousy months for us to finally hit a bottom line before forcing us in here. Now, did y'all see, in order for the mayor to see, I had put my hand in front of his face. We have no flag. We have no access to our mailboxes. When we're talking, really, when somebody's up there talking, you could actually see what they were saying. If I sit here and sign to you everything that's going on, will that help you? Because I can sign. I'll be glad to do it. This sucks. I have a ton of phone calls and people stopping by to tell me, we watch it live at night, or we watch it starting the next day, because they are elderly, and it's a whole lot easier for them to sit at home and watch the meeting rather than try to get here or there. And I noticed y'all didn't even bother to use the elevator that you whined about. So, I mean, you know, that's just another one of those little comments. I have worked with handicappers of all sorts for 50 years. I have fought tooth and nail to make the sidewalks compliant, to get handicap parking, to get the money turned loose from the quorum court. I offered to go to jail for that because they decided they didn't want to give us our money. I am not ignorant of the situation. I am furious that you're so self-centered. You couldn't wait 3 lousy months and let the people, other people in town, continue to be able to see, hear a live meeting or whatever in the comfort of their home. I think that was very disrespectful on your part. I tried to make...
Mickey, let's keep it to the public.
By law, I have
Mickey,
the right.
let's try not to do this for individuals.
I offered to talk to you guys. I was the very first one to respond to your first email. You didn't bother to respond back. That was really nice. I even talked to you here. No response, no nothing. So, as far as I'm concerned about the rest of town, and not you two, because you have made absolutely no effort whatsoever to deal with everybody. That's how I feel, and I hope you're happy and proud of yourselves. Thank you.
All right, as far as mayor's comments, we have upcoming events, September 27th through the 30th. We have Slingshot Invasion. That's coming in. On the 30th of this month, we'll have Blue Spring Heritage Day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. out at Blue Springs. Free admission for locals. And then on Saturday, the 30th, we'll have the Slingshot Parade. And for those of you who don't know what a slingshot is, it's those little funny motorcycles.
Two-seater.
Two-seaters, yeah.
Side by side, yeah.
So that'll be kind of fun to watch. Also on Saturday, we have the Native Plant Fair down at the up at the community center from 9 to 5. And on October the 7th, we have the Corvette Parade at 6:30 p.m. from the Victorian Inn to the end of the Ozarks. And also that weekend, the 5th through the 7th is Corvette weekend, of course, at Daly, and there'll be a display of Corvettes out at Pine Mountain Village. On the 7th, the drumming in the park, first Saturday of the month from 6 to 8 in the Basin Park. And also in the Basin Park on the 7th from 5:30 to 8:30 will be the Eureka Springs High School Band Bake Sale. And that's all I have. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moves. Thank you all.